We're going to move on now to Co-Liberty. So this is the project that Brian Hull from Dorset was speaking about, one of the projects he's been involved in. We're inviting Leanne Hawkins. Hello, Leanne. Good to see you.
Hello.
To talk all about Co-Liberty. So over to you.
Thank you, Jane. First slide already. Great. So good morning. I actually have good afternoon written down here. So we're obviously running slightly early, which is great. So good morning. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, then we're going to be introducing you to the digital LPS project and the resulting product as well. So now moved on from that project phase to a product in its own right.
Okay, so I've lost Leanne. I'm not sure if everyone else has lost Leanne. Saying that Leanne has lost. Yeah, okay, we've lost her. Can we give her just a few minutes just to type back in? Oh, she said, invite me to the stage. Here we go. We're going to get her back into the system. Apologies for this. Leanne is somewhere down on the south coast. Not that that's any difference to her internet connection, yours or mine. Hopefully we can bring her back to the stage, and if not, we can move on to our next speaker and hopefully get her back and up and running in the background. Oh, Leanne's back.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Okay? You.
Yeah. Great, super. Sorry, I am actually in our regional office, so it should be a fantastic connection, but there we go. Apologies. So yeah, the next 10-15 minutes covering the work that we've been doing as part of the digital LPS project, now a resulting product called Co-Liberty. I am Dr. Leanne Hawkins, and I'm Chief Operating Officer of Coalescent Limited, which is now the home for Co-Liberty. My background, last sort of 12 years, I've spent doing digital product delivery and service design in the adult social care space. Next slide, please. So this was a project that was funded by NHS Digital via the LGA, but also involved 5 local authorities or supervisory bodies, as they currently are, but they also brought their health partners to the table and future responsible bodies. Kirklees, Bristol, Coventry, Dorset and Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead formed our kind of core project group for that. And this project started, I suppose, back at the original 12-month countdown that we had, the original October countdown that everyone was given for LPS coming in. Obviously, subsequently, we know that deadline has been shifted to April 2022. I'm sure many of you are sort of sceptical as to whether that deadline will arrive in April or not. We're pretty well connected with DHSC and ADAS in that space. We know we don't have a code of practice at this point, but we do know is the centre are under significant pressure to deliver for that April deadline. So if I was a betting person, I would say they are going to do their utmost to get to that April deadline. If there's a delay, it will be very, very minimal, would be my guess, on the basis that we're just aware of how significant this new legislation is. So I just point you over to the right-hand side of your screen. We've got a poll that's running in there. My first question, I suppose, to you guys is, given April is fast upon us, and may or may not be a deadline, if you're aware of any activity that's going on in your organisation as to the digital aspects of your LPS implementations and what your ideal, I suppose, timescales might be for rolling out anything digital within your organisation. It's just useful for us to kind of get a sense from you guys as to whether you anticipate there being significant process, people change, training, and all that sort of aspect. So what are your timescales for wanting to get something in the digital space? I know that the majority of you with adult social care providers are probably looking to those suppliers to see what they might announce in that space as well. So that probably, your answer is probably going to be directed by some some of the noise you're hearing from them. But in an ideal world, if you could pick, what would be the sorts of timescales that you're looking at? I'll come back to some of the results in that poll shortly, whilst you're having a look through some of those. Next slide, please, Sam. We'll cover off some of the sort of discovery phase aspects in the meantime. So we brought together those mix of local authorities and their health partners as well. Given that local authorities are currently operating the DOLS processes, the Declaration of Liberty Safeguards, we were looking to them to see, well, what are the challenges that they're facing in the existing process? What do they hate about it? What do they think that needs to be improved? And what do we know about LPS coming that we would want to consider as part of a digital product? So we all know the increase in volume since the Cheshire West case, and actually that we can only anticipate volumes increasing quite significantly with the introduction of self-funders coming in as part of LPS. Local authorities tend to be sort of fairly set up in the way that their thinking might be for LPS coming in. They've been doing it for a very long time for DOLS. CCGs and hospital trusts may be looking to the local authorities for a steer there, or have got programmes of work that are moving towards their own implementations of that. But it could be entirely new burdens, or will be entirely new burdens for CCGs and hospital trusts who are used to sort of throwing your referrals over the fence to the local authorities. What I would like to kind of explore as well as part of the poll that we have running in that section is, under DOLS there's a little bit of movement and transition of people that move between supervisory bodies. We can certainly anticipate as part of LPS that there will be significantly more people that will be transitioning across responsible bodies, people that are in the community subject to DOL, moving into hospital and back out again, or transitioning between a responsible body. So from your perspective, how important or how useful would it be for you to be able to share any history and assessments of the people that you're looking after in those settings across responsible bodies? So to have that history come across with that person as they move into your remit and back out again. As part of our discovery phase, we were looking at that in particular. There's all the case management stuff, that's all very important. It has to be slick, it has to be efficient. But actually that's one area that current supervisory bodies were saying, not only in the DOLS processes, but as LPS comes in, that becomes more significant for them to be able, and there's certainly some huge efficiency savings that will come from that ability to share previous history and assessments across responsible bodies. So that's one element as part of the product design and the development of the resulting product that we have that was really, really critical, that we focused on heavily and how to enable that to happen on a national basis. Then we were also looking at current processes being particularly analogue. So there might be Word document forms that you're doing for assessments and using doctors and other specialist assessors that come in and are involved in that process. And there's a bit of a negotiation that can happen around the production of assessment and then the supervisory body wanting to look at the content and quality of those assessments. And we can certainly anticipate much of that being moved over to LPS and seen within the LPS setting as well. So not just a case management system, not just sharing your history and assessments, but also making sure that the process of producing that assessment, working with the consulted with people, anyone else that has to be involved in that assessment, and then negotiating on the final assessment document that comes out at the end. And that we saw as a very specific feature set around collaboration on the assessment forms themselves. So all of those were aspects that we were looking at in our discovery phase, which then led to our kind of resulting product and Co-Liberty as it stands now, and that's exactly what I'm going to be giving you a full demo on at 1 o'clock. So we'll run through that entire product of right from the start through the assessments and on to all the sort of sign-off processes that come with the LPS legislation that's coming in. So I suppose the other end of that, once you've got your deprivation limiting in place, you've then got the need to report on that back to NHS Digital. And current supervisory bodies reporting that that's quite a painful process. They often have resource issues in there. Maybe they get temps in to deliver on that returns process. So we've always known as part of this national project that the need to sort of improve that and make sure that that is not as painful as it has been important. But more recently, and you've probably heard about this coming from NHS Digital, that they're working on a national product to streamline that and to be able to take the information they need from an LPS perspective, rather than you having to kind of submit that and all the fine-tuning, I suppose, cleansing of data that I know many of you might be doing around your DOLS processes at the moment. Next slide, please. So taking all those bits into account then, we'll do a full demo of this at 1 o'clock, so you can see exactly how all of those pieces fit together and how it's collaborative, and you can involve all of those assessors, collaborate, consulted with people, doctors, admin, etc., and all the roles that they have to play. But touch a little bit on the outcomes of that then. So the ability, we sort of said, the ability to share history and assessments, really, really key. We're sort of taking for granted here that you need the case management stuff. It needs to be easy to use, the access, it needs to be cloud-based, all those things totally nailed and just stuff that we're used to doing on a day-to-day basis. But some of the stuff that maybe isn't so obvious in an LPS solution is that history, sharing of history and assessments piece across responsible bodies. Our current using the DOLS processes and looking at our supervisory bodies that are using and exploring this product, the efficiencies in the process at the moment are between the 30 to 40% mark in terms of how you administrate, assess, and authorise or otherwise deprivation of liberty, end-to-end, sort of 30 to 40% in terms of efficiency savings. Lots of our supervisory bodies we know are currently administrating on Excel spreadsheets, and then that in turn produces issues when it comes to auditing. In cases of challenge, getting all that data together can be really quite painful. And then on to the returns process for NHS Digital, exactly the same challenge there. So the introduction of this product in that space has meant that they've been able to have those robust auditing and streamline that data returns process. Very much a specific product for LPS. We're not merging this with a DOLS product. They are, if you have the DOLS version, it's an entirely separate version of the product operating under the DOLS scheme, and then an entirely separate version that operates for the LPS scheme as well. And next slide, please. So touching on the savings there, we're looking at Coventry City Council. They're about average as far as our collaboration group were concerned. Their sort of caseloads were sort of bang back in the middle, so they're quite a useful case for us to look at. Their savings for using CoLiberty are just over £180,000 per annum, and that's entirely born out of the kind of sharing of history and assessments piece, as well as the streamlining and efficiencies in the collaborative production of the assessment, and that assessors can come in and do those assessments digitally. It just introduced that 30 to 40% efficiency savings for them. The implementation process itself, I'll come to look at your poll responses in a second, but from our perspective, implementing the product is sort of a 4 to 6 week process in terms of handing you the product. Beyond that, you will want to roll this out across your organisation, do all that people process change aspect, and I'll have a look at what some of the responses say then. But the conversations we're having at the moment, most people wanting to get product in place in sort of 3 to 6 months before LPS comes in mark. So in which case now is exactly the right time to be considering what your digital options are, and if you're looking to adult social care providers, you're pressing them for those answers as well. But our product is ready to go, is being implemented locally in a number of locations, currently ready for that LPS to be introduced, ready for LPS to be introduced in April. We provide all it's a software as a service product, so we provide all the hosting and management of that, as well as all the training that you'll require, and so train the trainer, and then supplementary materials to support the rollout across your organisation. One interesting factor that you don't often see in software that's being sold in the public sector is the pricing structure was actually determined by the collaborating organisations. That's not something that as a business we decided what we should be charging for this. Obviously it has to wash its feet, it has to be sustainable, but very much looking at those that are going to be buying and using the product as to what they felt would be reasonable and what the model was to sort of subscribe to this as a product. Pricing is entirely transparent on our website, which I'll pop the link up to shortly. It is our pricing structure, and we're also on G-Cloud as well. So for anyone that's looking for help with that procurement aspect, G-Cloud, you'll find Co-Liberty listed on there. Again, pricing entirely transparent and publicly published. Essentially, we're looking at finding a solution which is fair and representative either of your size or caseload. Thank you. Next slide, please. So that's my 15-minute pitch to you to say, please do turn up to our demo at 1 o'clock, where I'll run a full demonstration of that. And I'll just have a quick look at those polls now as well. Okay, not so many answers in there at the moment. They'll stay live for a bit. So 1 o'clock, we're running a full demo of that product. I hope to see you there. All of our contact details are on that slide.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Leanne. Thank you. I'm so glad we got you back again.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's it's important to note that what you said at the end, that the pricing model of Co-Liberty has been designed with all of the partners, and that's the case with all of the solutions. So, we're trying to bring really good digital solutions to the market, but also make them affordable to scale them and make them relevant.
And fair, and fair.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Excellent.